you over, Ron.
Thanks for coming over, bud.
It's a lot of deer you got here.
There's a couple. It's a life worth of doing it, and I guess that just means I'm friggin' old.
And wise.
I don't know, I wouldn't go that far, but
Do you remember each one? Like every hunt?
I can probably remember every one of these deer as well as I can my kids being born. Not quite. I have to say that, but no, it's that's one of my biggest passions, bass fishing and deer hunting, of course, and yeah, it never gets old. So
There's over 20 huge deer in here, dude. This is like insane.
yeah, it should be in total. I think there's 30, and yeah, there's still my buddy's my taxidermist, and so I don't quite get mine back as fast as everybody else does, and I still pay the same price, but your buddies, so what am I going to do, yell at them?
Right. Well, it's nice of him to do that.
Yeah.
Are any of these from Minnesota?
A couple of them are, not very many. The one in the corner here on the pedestal is from Minnesota, and then
That one's a tank.
yeah, and then there's a few on that upper row up there that are from Minnesota, but
We don't grow as big a deer in Minnesota,
no,
do we?
we absolutely do. We have
Yeah.
one of the best potentials for having gigantic deer that you could ever ask for. It's just we don't allow our herd to be managed properly, and a lot of them get shot a long time before they should. A year and a half old deer is the dumbest deer in the woods, and it's they don't normally make it past that when we're hunting with guns during the rut. So, but
Seems to be when you talk to hunters about Minnesota deer regulations, it seems to be a touchy subject.
it is, and I don't. It doesn't bother me. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion on it, and to me, I love hunting big bucks, whether it's here or Nebraska or North Dakota, South Dakota, Colorado, Wyoming,
Right.
Missouri, Texas, Alabama. The one in the corner up there is from Alabama,
Cool.
and I don't care. I just love going different places and seeing different different species of deer, first of all, but just seeing their mature deer. And Minnesota just doesn't have what other states have to offer. So it's so fun to leave. Like tomorrow morning, I'm leaving for Nebraska, and
Sweet.
I'll be there for it's me and 4 other guys have 55,000 acres to hunt on out there. So if we didn't want to, none of us would see each other for 2 weeks. I mean, you're just out there hunting, and you don't. It's not like Minnesota where when the Orange Army comes out and sun starts coming up, you can see 15 people from where you're sitting. It's like Nebraska. That's unless it's one of my buddies, I'll never see anybody for the entire time I'm out there.
That's crazy. Is it so? You're kind of a guy who capitalizes on the seasons to maximize how long you can hunt, right?
Right.
Minnesota, it's like what, a month ish?
Minnesota's bow opener started yesterday.
Yeah.
I won't even hunt Minnesota until I got land in a couple different places in Minnesota here, and I'll just watch cameras, and I know when they're going to show up at those at my land, whether it be just over here or up north or wherever, and I won't even go near them until that opportunity presents itself, and
Sure.
Because otherwise you just run the risk of messing up your entire area and pushing your deer off your land and onto the neighbors or whatever. So
Sure.
but after years of hunting them, I mean, you kind of know what the deal is, why and when they're on your property, and you just don't go sit out there just hoping to God something shows up. You just don't do that. And so yeah, so for Minnesota, it's I know when they're going to be on our properties here. Going to Nebraska tomorrow, that's going to be, I mean, we have great big muleys and whitetails on the same 55,000 acres out there. So it's you just don't know what you're going to shoot. I mean, that's half the fun of it is you can go out there and see a giant whitetail you're after one day with your bow, and the next day you forgot about that whitetail. You're after a giant muley with your bow instead. And it's not easy out there because it's so vast. You're trying to hide behind a friggin' tumbleweed to shoot a deer. But there's other states like Montana. I love going to Montana every year, and that one same deal. You got giant muleys, giant whitetails, and I couldn't tell you which one I would rather shoot. It's just they kind of tell you which one you want to shoot.
Gotcha.
When you see them. So
do they act different, like a muley versus a whitetail?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a smallmouth versus a largemouth.
Yep. That's a great example of what they are. Even they're 180. I mean, for how they act and what they do, and that's why I love them both. Just like largies and smallies.
So are muleys like the smallies where they won't go into the grass, but they'll use the edges more, and the whitetails will go into the shrubbery?
That's kind of the case. It all depends on what your terrain is.
Sure.
When you get into like Colorado and stuff like that, where you're in more of the hardwoods, then you have your timber bucks, your timber muleys. In Nebraska, there's like on that 55,000 acres we have, there's like 7 trees on it. In total, so they don't have to worry about going into trees there.
Right, no kidding.
But that's muleys and whitetails there. I mean, it's just a different. They're basically, the bigger deer are swamp bucks out there, and the bigger whitetails. I'm sorry, are swamp bucks, and the bigger muleys out there are high hills bucks. So you could, like I said, you could be hunting the tops of bluffs.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, and in the morning you're hunting, or vice versa, hunting sloughs for whitetails,
banging ditches or hitting the high spots.
Yeah,
cool.
Yep. But yeah, you're constantly glassing. I mean, that's what you have is your binos or your spotting scope are everything. I mean, you can put as many miles on as you want with your feet, but it doesn't do you any good if that deer is going to see you 5 miles before you see him. So picking up glass and looking for them is the biggest key. It's if you can see them before they can see you, you got a chance.
How far do those spotting scopes see again?
The glass that I use, everybody can do their own thing, but Vortex has been amazing to me over the years, and I have several scopes, several scopes for guns, as well as several spotting scopes that are Vortex. And the one that I use as a spotting scope, I mean, you can literally pick deer off at 5 miles. It's
dang.
Yeah, so in Nebraska you can see that far easily, and all those western states you can see like that, and you'll be able to know what you're going after instead of walking 5 miles at something that you're not going to shoot when you get over there. You can actually know what you're going to shoot. But there's a big difference between cheap glass and expensive glass, and I would much rather have expensive glass and a rock in my hand than the best bow in the world and shitty glass. It's just glass is everything.
So you kind of watch them, then that kind of tells you how you need to approach them.
Yeah, that's wind plays a huge factor. Obviously, cover plays a huge factor, and where they're going to and from is one of the biggest things. If you can, like in the mornings, a lot of times I'll go out and put half the time I won't even bring a bow with. I mean, I'm just sitting on the highest point I possibly can and trying to put a buck to bed somewhere. So I might put 5 or 10 bucks to bed on that sit in the morning and have several places I can go after deer, just depending on what the wind is.
Sure.
But you're sitting up there trying to stay as far away from those deer as possible so you don't spook them. So you can, like I said, put them to bed and then make a plan to go after them after that. No, whether it be like that's kind of a spot and stock deal, whether you go after them then or whether they went to that bed after the food that they were on, and then get in between those two things to hunt them, or like I said, or spot and stock. And if there's enough wind, try to get up on them and get a shot at them that way. But
That's pretty cool. So like day one, you cut your hooks off.
That's kind of the deal, yeah.
And
Yeah,
make sure you don't get any sharp objects around them, but you kind of figure out what they're
doing.
using, why they're using it.
Yep.
Just like fishing, dude.
It is. It's and I if Kathy was sitting out here right now, she'd laugh and say, "Yeah, he says that all the time." But I've always said I'm so glad Kathy didn't make me choose between deer hunting and bass fishing, because I'd sure miss her.
Yep. Well, that's good. You have your priorities in order.
She knew that before we got married, so I could say I told you so. And no, I couldn't ask for a better wife. I mean, on the planet. And a lot of people look at me and say, how did you get her, for God's sake? I mean, like when we go on trips and stuff, she packs all our food and
yeah, she does.
Make sure that we know how to make it and all that.
That lasagna was good. Oh my, everything was good. Shout out to Kathy.
Yeah, no, she does that for every trip, and I'm literally gone like every other week for sure. Whether it's, I mean, in the summer it's almost every week for tournaments,
fishing,
and then now it'll be like I'll be in Nebraska this coming week for whenever I get back, probably 10, 11 days.
Sure.
And then I'll be back for a little bit, and then I'll go to South Dakota, and then I'll go to North Dakota, and then I'll go to Montana, and it's just nonstop. So she takes care of absolutely everything here. So I got of all the trophies I've gotten here, she's probably the best.
I mean, not gonna lie, you're spoiled rotten.
I am. I absolutely am. But
no, I'm gonna start rooming with you more often if Kathy's cooking like that, like she was at Gall. It was good luck.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, well, she always does. I've never understood if she's just a little bit slow or what, because I think I tricked her pretty easy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. You definitely, I don't know. You outkicked your coverage.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The Vikes going to win tomorrow night?
You're damn right they are.
It's Monday night.
And every other game this year.
I think they're fucked. It's Monday night. This could be his first Monday night win.
Let's hope.
Ever.
Cousins is not, big games are not his forte, but I don't know. They looked pretty damn good last week. So
that's what I heard. I was chasing bass, but I heard they looked really good.
Keep dropping bombs to JJ, and we'll be all right.
Amen to that. It sounds like they were like a little more aggressive throughout the whole game, which is nice to see.
Yeah. Yep. And it's so tonight we've got the Packers and the Bears, two teams I hate probably worse than any other teams. They're playing each other, so every time there's an interception or a fumble, I'm cheering no matter who it is.
For sure. We're cheering against both teams tonight.
Right. Yeah.
But you just got back from Vermilion.
Yeah.
Catching billions of bass. You fished Champs Tour for the first time this year.
I did.
Had a pretty good year with that.
Yeah, Champs went good. Had a little misfortune on a couple tournaments, but that format is so addicting. It's when we got done with Serpent Lake, I was so mad at him and ready to go again that I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna wait like almost a year to go at it again.
Totally.
And no, I was just mad at him after that, and it's so addicting, and I just can't wait. I can't wait for next year. That was a really fun year. I'm kind of actually, after doing it this year, I'm kind of pissed I didn't get in on it earlier. But Newman tried to get me in for like 3 or 4 years, I think it was, and every time I had so many other tournaments that were like scheduled on top of those that I couldn't miss, like national championships that were on the same time, or like I was going to be gone. I'm like, Newman, I really can't miss a national championship for Champs. And good thing I didn't know what Champs was like, because I might have actually missed a national championship for Champions Tour.
I hope not. But
no, I wouldn't have done that. But it is, Champions Tour is amazing.
It's fun.
Everybody should get to experience that at least 1 year. It's so much fun.
It's fun. It's humbling, and I think you've got to be probably one of the only guys I know where you come in your first event, never fishing that format before, and you took second. Pretty near won the thing. That was pretty cool to see, because for me it was such a horrible adjustment that I just give you a lot of credit for just whacking them that first event, because that was cool.
And for me it's still, it's just fishing. So
Totally.
Actually just go out and do your thing, and I mean I haven't changed a single thing in what I do. A couple bait choices here and there, obviously, but that's really all I changed from what I do. And that first tournament, when I look back now, and actually Bart could probably tell you too, from being in the boat with me that first day, if that wouldn't have been my first tournament, it would have probably been a different story, because I didn't have all of the, I don't even know how to say it, but now when I catch a fish, I've got my marshal taking a picture instantly, where there was it was taking like 2 minutes to get a fish weighed in that tournament, and it wasn't my marshal's fault by any means. It was me being green and not knowing that, okay, this is how you need to do it. And once I figured that out, I'm like, oh my God, I wasted like an hour that day of fishing time, I left them biting, so I kind of screwed myself on that one, but I don't know, you kind of learn that way too. So
Right. Well, MLF was just on Mille Lacs or whatever, and David Walker, I think, was really close to winning it, and I think he caught like a 5 3/4, and like they don't have to picture their fish, and he like stopped to take a picture of it. I mean, that might have been the 2 casts he needed, or 3 casts he needed to seal the deal. It's a weird game that way.
It is. That was the end of that one. The bummer on that is we didn't get that on film. So the very end of that tournament, on my last cast, or I didn't want it to be my last cast, but I had already pulled the trolling motor up, and I said, okay, I've got time to make a couple casts I pulled out to this point, and I actually could see Tommy Parker from where I was, and I caught one. I needed like 3 pounds 5 ounces or something like that, and that's what it was, 3 pounds 5 ounces I needed. And I made a cast and thunk, set the hook. I'm like, there he is, and I started reeling in. I could see it was like a 2.5 pounder, and I had 6 pound test. I'm like, shit, I got to swing this thing in, because I need to make another cast yet, and I'm out of time. So I swung it in, missed the fish, grabbed my line broke, and the fish fell on the floor.
2 minutes.
So I got a 2-minute penalty, and we didn't get that on film, but I got a 2-minute penalty, and all I needed was 15 ounces, which is 1 legal fish, and by the time my 2-minute penalty was up, I had to leave, or I wasn't going to make it back in time. And I had to be using 6 pound test there with, there was not where I was there, but where I was fishing earlier. 8 pound test was pulling my lure too fast. There was too much line drag, so I had to use 6 pound test, and I busted off one other time that day that probably cost me. I was like a 2.5 pounder too that broke off, but that like 8 pound test there was too much line drag. It was pulling, because I was using a really light lure so I wasn't getting stuck in the rocks.
Yeah.
And 8 pound test was there was too much drag there, so I had to go with 6.
The bait wasn't staying on the bottom.
Right.
Got it.
And I had already busted off what I had. I had another one on 8 pound test, and I had already busted that one off in a rock. So the only one I had left with 2 minutes to go was 6 pound, and that's what I threw. And when I swung it, I'm like, uh-oh. And I grab my line, and bing, it falls on the floor. I'm like, But
I've had penalties cost me bad at the end of the day like that. Boat flipping fish you shouldn't, or just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Do weird stuff in the heat of the moment.
You do. And it's a spur of the moment deal. So, but that's that's what makes it half the fun. I mean,
Totally. It's adrenaline for 8 hours.
yeah. You are so, and that's another thing that I can't stress enough is you are so shot by the time champs is over. It's like you literally want to just lay down in your boat when you get in and just go to sleep for like 10 hours and then wake up and go load your boat.
Totally.
You have nothing left mentally, physically, nothing. And it's so much fun.
Totally.
So that's
those MLF guys, like 4 days of it or whatever, or 3 days. It's like, that's like almost, you could almost call them athletes. Like,
yeah.
if I did that, I would definitely probably like run every morning or something. I would need to do something like that because I'm way too shot after one day.
Yep, you'd have to.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple less beers at like nights between, or I don't know if that's allowed or not.
It never hurts for me. Depends on the person there, it seems like. I'm not a professional. I'm learning.
But
So you've kind of developed a name in this part of the state and just the Midwest as just a hammer. You've always been somebody I've looked up to in just tournament bass fishing, and you've been doing it a while. When did that kind of start for you? And I guess talk me through that a little bit.
I really started bass fishing about probably 23, 24 years ago. I fished walleyes, of course, before then, and it sucked. And I got sick of catching, like, if you'd go out and catch a limit, we called it a limit. Oh, I got a limit today, fishing walleyes. I got a limit.
Yeah.
That was a thing. I mean, like, holy shit, you had a good day. And it sucked because more often than not, you didn't get a limit. And it was like, I fished like 15 hours and caught like 4 fish.
Right.
And then kind of got into fishing bass. Like, it was kind of the time. I mean, bass was already getting big in Minnesota. I mean, a lot of the guys that are older than I am even were like hardcore into it.
Sure.
And doing great. And then I kind of saw that and took off after it and really never looked back. I mean, bass fishing is so much more fun than walleye fishing.
Night and day.
But it was, I got to credit my dad. I mean, my dad took me fishing in general since I was like 3 years old, and I was not a kid that could sit still. I mean, my dad had wanted to kill me like every day.
Sure.
Every day he took me out. I couldn't sit still, and I was constantly, I'd be switching baits and dicking around and getting stuff tangled up and whatever. But I got to credit my dad for just always like, still every week okay, let's go fishing. All right, and away we go. And we had cabins up north, just west of Mille Lacs on some little lakes up there. And
oh, sure.
We went up there every weekend and just had a load of fun.
Sure.
Just fishing. I mean, before the sun would come up, I'd be out on the dock, and then I'd be in our little boat, and then me and my dad and my brothers would go out fishing all day long, like all day, every day. And I'd never get bored of it. And like I said, my dad had just been sick of us by the time it was over because he's dealing with a few of us that were like the same way, like almost ADHD, like,
yeah,
okay, let's go.
Yep.
And anyways, so he got me into fishing big time. And then a couple of my older friends from town here started fishing what's called the KBI, the Kenora Bass International.
Yeah.
Dave Heike and John Lissman. And I'd always watch that and watch them as I was growing up. And it was that was just exciting to see that. I mean, like, so you're telling me I can go fishing for a day and have a chance to win a boat or a truck or $100,000? Sign me up. I'm in.
Yeah.
And those guys did. I went up there with them a couple of years, and they had to use my boat one year because they seemed to break down about half the time up there. But I went up there a couple of years and got to see it firsthand, and that was in my earlier years of fishing, probably like 2000 or somewhere around there, I suppose it was.
Yeah.
And probably late 90s, I suppose. And,
Yeah.
And just seeing that atmosphere, I mean, they Canada like frickin' does it out big time. I mean, they've got a tent for the boat parade that's
Right.
got that. I don't know how much. There's probably a couple thousand people in that tent, and
It's a big one.
yeah, and they pull everybody through, and it's. I mean, you hold your fish up, and I mean, it was a big deal back then, and
For sure.
And yeah, so I kept watching them, and I still talk to both of them all the time, and especially Dave. I mean, well, I saw you just called me a little bit ago here, but it's those guys were just had the bass bug, and it got me into it too, and never looked back since. And
Sure.
now I can't get enough of it ever.
Ever.
So
Well, you've pretty good at it, Ron. Pretty dang good at it.
when, if you do enough of something, they never see your failures. So
Totally.
or you never let them see your failures, or something like that.
Totally. It's a losing sport, but I mean, you're typically up there, and I'd like to think you probably win more than a lot of people in this area anyway. I've learned a lot just competing against you, and I appreciate guys like you, and guys like Tony, guys like Nick, Pat. It's been good to have like really good competition around here to fish against.
We had, and that's I'm fortunate myself for having that around here. I mean, we've had some really good sticks, and some of us, like me, I'm older. It took me a lot longer to learn. You like they opened your package, and you were like the best right out of the gate. I mean, you knew more in the first couple of years of your fishing than a lot of people that have been fishing for 20 years know now. I mean, you just excelled so rapidly, and that's what I'm seeing out of a lot of the youth now too, is that like all of them are like, holy shit, we got a lot of kids to fend off here in the near future. I'm thinking about hanging it up here because I'm wasting my time, but
I'm feeling that too with these kids. I'm feeling like I'm getting older, but I think there's something to age. Like if you pick up something, before you're an adult, it's almost like that blank brain theory, where if there's nothing in your head and you put stuff in there, it sticks better because there's not other things going on, I guess. And I think for me, I'm just like, when I'm obsessed with something, there's really nothing else that matters anymore. So I think, but it's a humbling sport, and it never ends. But
yeah, and there, like I said, you caught on and frickin' flew with it right away, and I've had a lot of fun. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. And
Yep.
I've had a lot of fun just watching you grow in the sport, and that's half of it for me too. Now, I mean, watching some of you younger guys coming up and just crushing the field. It's fun to see. I mean, you made national championship for bass last year. No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, and then this year.
And then you made it again this year. I mean, most people would never make a national championship in their life. You've done it twice in 3 years now. It's so fun to watch, like guys like you, and I could name a handful of other guys that are like that just have it, and it gives us older guys, and I'm not that I'm that old, but I'm a lot older than most of the younger bass guys, and it gives us like something to cheer for, and know that in the future we're gonna be able to watch you guys hammer them down. And
Totally.
so.
Well, I mean, you're going to nationals too. We're going together.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You guys locked in AOI for that, right?
Yeah. Joe and
TOI.
I won the team of the year for the Minnesota Bass Series this year.
That's a tough series. I think that's one of the toughest series to fish in the state.
It is. There's so many good teams in there. And
Everyone's good.
Yeah. There's no slouches in that one whatsoever.
No.
And yeah, for Joe and I are both that we never take a win for granted ever, because you never know if you're going to get another one. First of all, but
Totally.
But especially against that crew, it's just everybody there can win. Just like Champs Tour, everybody on Champs Tour could win.
Yep.
And there's not like back in the day, you used to look at the field and go like, oh, okay, there's 50 teams, and I'd say probably 15 of us teams have really. I mean, if you look at it, legitimately have a shot to win. The others are kind of hoping to get a check or whatever.
Yep.
That's not the way anymore. It's like, holy shit, there's like everybody in here
Right.
can probably win this. So to come out on top this year with the team of the year for Minnesota Bass Series, that was Joe and I were excited about that, and we're excited to get to Hartwell. I wish we had more time on Hartwell, but they've given us 2.5 days to practice down there, which that's kind of a bummer. But
I got the email today. I haven't read it yet on the official everything rules and whatnot, but yeah, 2.5 days sounds about right. I just can't remember the off limits cutoff prior.
It's like November 21st, I think, is the cutoff, if I remember correctly. And so, but
you can fish till November 21st.
Yeah, for a guy like you, you're golden. You can go down there and fish all you want. I have hunting trips planned from now through those days, even through the damn tournament. But so I don't know if I'm going to make it down there. Joe's pretty sure. Joe was going to retire from. He's a teacher at Ridgewater.
Yep.
And he was going to retire this year, and then didn't, and now he's kind of wishing he would have. But
so he's got to teach then.
Yeah, but we're all actually going down that last or that first week in December. We're all going down. I got me and Joe, our wives, all of my kids are coming down. Even my son-in-law and our 2 grandkids we're getting a big condo or a big VRBO down there, and those guys are going to hoop it up, and Joe and I are going to be on the friggin' lake fishing. So,
you ever fish Blue Black Lakes or anywhere down in that area?
Not that area. I've never been down into South Carolina fishing at all. I've got some buddies that are from down in that area.
Sure.
But that I've always said, hey, you got to come down and fish. I'm like, yeah, that's okay. Come up here and fish. It's more fun.
It is way more fun and way better fishing.
Yeah.
But where else have you fished in Louisiana? I know you qualified for nationals, 2 years ago?
Last year.
Last year.
I fished the national championship in Louisiana. That one still got me a little bit sore. It's
Red River, right?
Yeah, Red River. Yep. It's there are certain tournaments where going in that you're pretty sure you're going to win, and I not very many, but that one going in, I was like, I have a legitimate shot at closing this one down, and went into day one, and I think I weighed like 15 pounds, which is a sack for
good bag down there
for the Red River.
Yep.
And I was in 4th place, I think, after day one. There was two guys down there that caught. One guy caught like 19 and one caught 18, which is unheard of for there.
Didn't Matty Wong fish that one, or no?
No, Matty wasn't in that one.
Okay.
But so day two, we went into it, and I had like 16 pounds in the first hour, and I was catching like. I had this whole area all to myself. There was nobody. I mean, well, put it this way: I bought a tin Ranger to go down there, and I didn't know that that's what I was gonna do going down there. I'm just like, I'm not gonna bring my. That was right when I got my brand new Vexus, and I'm like, I'm not bringing my Vexus down to. And I still had my.
I remember you're so scared to scratch it.
Yeah, I still had my Triton that too. I'm like, I'm not scratching my Triton up even. Right. So I'm like, well, screw it. Everybody needs 3 boats, right? So I buy a Haugie's RT-188 Ranger, and take that down there, and it was an absolute disaster on the way down. It was when they had the coldest whatever they've had in like forever, and the river actually froze over. The whole town was shut. The whole town of Shreveport was shut down when I got down there. There was no gas in there for like a week.
Oh my God.
They were all trapped on the freeway coming in because they don't have any snow plows or anything.
Right, nothing.
And they got like a foot of frickin' snow, and freezing cold. But yeah, so I took that tin boat down there. Didn't know that I was going to be like fishing the spot I was fishing, but got in there day one, had like 15 pounds. Went in there on day two, and within an hour I had like 16 something, I think it was, and even my co-anglers were catching, I think both my co-anglers. Well, my co-angler from day one was the co-angler national champion.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And so halfway through day two, I just started laying off my fish. They were actually pulling up on beds. It went from the river was froze over like a week and a half before this to they were pulling up on beds during the tournament. I've never seen that drastic of a change in my life.
Wild.
Yeah. So I had 16 pounds. I was in fourth after day one, so I had 15 something day one, I think it was, and sitting in fourth, and then I had 16 something in the first hour and a half on day two, and had caught just a pile. I'm like, I need to lay off a little bit because I'm pretty sure this is over. No one else is in there. And
right.
So I left that afternoon I had another 16 pounds on beds that pulled up on beds, and I didn't touch any of them. Like, these will give me like a couple ounces today, but tomorrow I'll have 16 pounds in like an hour.
Totally.
And it's over.
Yep.
And so anyways, I get back to the weigh-in, and Brad Knight from Wisconsin comes. He's such a good dude. And he comes running up to my boat right away. He's like, "Oh, did you whack him today?" I said, "Yeah, I did pretty good. I did better than yesterday. I got like 16 something." He pauses. He goes, "Shit." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I got like 18 something." I'm like, "Well, good for you. You're going to win." He goes, "No, I don't have any fish left to go to." He had nothing. And so anyways, I was destined to win the national championship, go on to Major League Fishing, all that, to from that to I was out of the tournament. Like
So you didn't get to fish the next day?
I didn't get to fish the third day. Because they only take, so Brad was in first place, and I was in second place, and third place was like 7 pounds behind us, but they only take the top person out of each division to fish the final day, and there's 7 divisions, so I didn't get to fish the final day, and Brad's like, "I'm screwed, I have no fish to go back to," and there was no way he could get into where I was fishing anyways, and then once you weigh in, you can't talk anymore, so I couldn't even tell Brad, just try your best to jam your boat into here, and even though it was gonna, he wouldn't have got in there. It was falling water too, but anyways, so Brad still tells the story all the time. Like everybody in Wisconsin, he's like, "I should have just thrown my fish back right then and just let Ron go on," which nobody's gonna obviously do. But Brad still to this day says, "I should have done that because it was over, and something went way wrong with the universe that day." I mean, it's just in my head. I'm like, okay, this is over. I already had which fish I was going to in the morning, like to start on, and then this one, and then this one, and all of a sudden, just like that, you're not even fishing the next day. And I had like all of like family, friends. I had like 25 people that came down. It was the middle of winter, so I don't know if they came down to see me or just to go to someplace warm, but we had a pile of people there, and all of a sudden, just like that, everybody's mouth dropped. Like Brad frickin' puts 18 something pounds on the scale, and I'm not fishing the next day. And
that burns.
That was so heartbreaking, so heartbreaking.
That's a fucky rule. Like
it is. It's been brought up so many times. I mean, it should be like the top. If you're in the top 20, you should at least go to day 3.
Totally. 15.
Yeah.
Even.
Yep. But yeah, Brad and I were ahead of third place by like 5 or 6 pounds. And there was guys that were, so of the 7 divisions, like I said, you get 1 from each division goes to the last day. And you go to the All-American from that too. So not only, Brad got to go to the All-American for that, but there was guys that were in the other divisions that are in like 20th place, and they go to the All-American, and but we know the rules when it started, so it's not like I have anything really to complain about. This is the way it is, but yeah,
it's just weird rules.
It was like I said, something went way wrong with the universe then, because I would have bet my life that I was winning that tournament, and even my because I had a camera guy in my boat all day that second day, and my co-angler's like, he was looking around. I got him 14 pounds that day, and he's looking around. He's like, "This is over." I mean, he saw all the fish on the beds. He's like, "This is over," and he's like, "You're winning this by like 7:30 tomorrow morning." I'm like, "Yeah, and nothing could have really gone wrong. I was literally running like 400 yards from takeoff." So there's guys going, we could go 90 miles, and there's guys going 90 miles, and I literally went 400 yards, and sat down. I burned like a cup of gas in 2 days of the
Oh
tournament.
my gosh, you had like the perfect.
I couldn't. I could have broke down and still used my trolling. I could have, if my trolling motor broke down, I could have used my tongue and paddled up my way back to the freaking boat launch, and it just didn't work.
I think it's like a retread hole, a little retread hole.
No, they were actually pulling up. It's I know exactly what they do there, but they were actually pulling up out of the main channel and coming into this backwater, and because they were pulling up to spawn, obviously big time, and I just had fish coming, and you'd fish an area, and then all of a sudden you'd come back through, and they're the same area you just fished, all of a sudden just had a new wad of fish. Just every time you'd come back through, and it was endless. I mean, like I said, we caught like 50 fish a day, and you could have caught as many as you wanted to in there, and they just kept coming out of that main channel and pulling into there. It was so much fun, and
That's so cool. And you had it all to yourself.
all to myself.
Wow.
There was one guy from Louisiana, on the pro side, that came in on day one, and he, when we were going to leave, he had a decent bag. He had like 14 pounds, he said, and all of a sudden we went out and we're heading across, or we're going to head across, because it took a little bit to get out of that place, and all of a sudden I see him turn around and go back in, and then at weigh-in he only weighed 4 fish. And I'm like, how is that possible? I mean, I've watched him catch like 10 other fish in there for sure, and he was only in there for like an hour maybe. And here I ran into his wife the next day at the weigh-in. I'm like, what happened to so-and-so yesterday? She goes, don't ask him, but he made a culling error and threw an extra fish back and only had 4. And so then later he came up to me, he goes, yeah, that's why I went back in when you saw me turn around there. He goes, somehow I threw back an extra fish, and he weighed like 12 pounds and should have had like close to 14, 15. And so he knew I was going back in there the next day. He never came in. It was just my boat was the only boat in there the whole tournament besides him. So, but
Bet there's good food down there.
oh yeah, yep.
Get some Cajun going.
Not a shortage of it either. Not a shortage. There's a lot of good restaurants, and Shreveport's kind of a dirtier town. I don't know. It's not. I mean, it's not a real
Louisiana.
Good, yeah, exactly. It's not a real good vacation town, but the
Right.
people down. I've met so many amazing people down there that I'm still friends with now. I mean, that I still talk to like almost on a weekly basis from down there.
Sure. Good folk.
Yeah, they're all really really good people down there. They're kind of like Minnesota people actually. We get a lot of really good people up here, and
Yeah, they're weird like us, just from the south.
Yep. Yeah. They instead of saying they say y'all, and
Right. God, I just can't think of Louisiana without thinking of the movie Waterboy.
I'm with you.
No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong.
One of my faves.
Mama's right.
I feel like Dane could really do a good impression of that.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you? Oh,
He could.
probably inappropriate, but I think he could do a pretty good impression.
Fuck appropriate. Yeah. Yeah. Ron,
I'm gonna take.
take one. Yep.
Yeah.
Bathroom break. Seen Nick Gross lately?
I haven't.
Saw him tonight.
Did you really? Mm-hmm. That sucker.
He looks like Forrest Gump post run.
Still. Huh.
Even better. It's the most impressive I've ever seen it.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
And an amazing stick.
Agreed. I learned a lot from Nick. A lot.
Yeah.
He's natural.
Oh, 100%. And back before technology even.
Yeah.
And fishing offshore, and yeah, he was he needs to come out of retirement or something.
It was kind of my goal when I moved into my place this year, and I've been running so hard that I haven't had a chance to even try to pull him. But needs to happen, yeah. There's a lot of talent there.
Yeah. Yep.
Kids, family, I mean it's like a
No, there's no excuse there. That's the kids and family thing. There's no excuse there because if Noah Schultz can fish, anybody can fish.
No, that's a really good point.
Because he's got like a ginormous family, and
He does.
he's proven to be one of the best in probably the country. I'm not limiting him to Minnesota.
I'm not either.
I hope to God the freaking elites or somebody takes him so we don't have to deal with him pretty soon.
I'm with you. He has a talent to do that, so he should probably do that. So
Yeah.
you can save a few extra shekels.
Right. I joked around with Fighter after he made the elites a lot about the text back and forth with him about good luck this week and all that crap, and I'd say I'm living vicariously through you, and in the same sense I'd say I'm sure glad you're gone though, because I can win a lot more tournaments now, and there was I said it jokingly, but there was a lot of truth to it. I mean, Seth was another one that was just leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else, and now he proved himself in the entire world.
Totally.
I mean, but Noah's in that caliber too, and
He is.
And we actually in that champs tour, there's several people that I would put up against. I would put in the elites against all of them and say my money's on this guy, and
For Noah for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few of them in there that.
There's a lot of good fishermen, man. It's crazy. Shoota's real good.
Yeah.
Biggie's automatic.
Shuda came out third yesterday in the Major League Fishing down in Truman.
I forget how he ended up, but he was having a real good tournament.
Yeah, he was in first after day one, and day two he dropped to third, and then I think he finished in third.
Minky was doing good too.
Yeah, Mickey was in second on day one, and then he kind of had a bad day on day two. Dropped to he only had two fish.
15.
Yeah, but he still made the cut with two fish.
Right.
It tells you how much of a dump Truman is, but
Totally. You fished Truman, I think, haven't you?
I haven't. I was actually supposed to fish it for the NBAA championship 2 years ago, and that's when COVID hit, and they kept changing the schedule, and no, I never did fish that. But you talk about a story of all stories. This should be that the dude that won, that Truman won. That a movie should be made of that, because that's like, I mean, he's kind of the same. Almost the same as Clay Dyer.
Yeah?
And I can't, for the life of me, I can't think of the guy's name right now, but he has no legs. He has no hands.
He has one arm, one hand.
Well, no, it's not a full hand. He's got like a couple of fingers on each hand.
Damn.
And it's absolutely amazing. I mean, the talent that guy has, first of all, even just to fish is amazing.
Straight up.
I have the utmost respect for that alone, just even going out and trying, and then you go and kick everybody's ass on Truman. I mean, it's not like oh yeah, I just got lucky and stumbled upon a school. It's freaking Truman. There is no schools. It's a dump, and he came out on top. That a movie should be made of that one.
Lieutenant Dan kicked everyone's asses.
Yeah. Yep.
That was unbelievable. That's cool to see too, because it just goes to show, like, with fishing, it can be done. You wouldn't see that in probably any other sport that I can think of.
Right. Just like Larson in champs, he gets in the boat every day, never has a negative attitude about anything. I mean, he gets in his front chair and fishes his ass off every day. Never has anything negative to say about anything. Always in an upbeat mood, happy to be fishing, and can catch them.
It's unbelievable.
It's another guy that I just respect the hell out of. There's a lot of able-bodied people, I guess you'd say, that will never do what some of these guys do. Never. And the talent that the obstacles they've overcome is just, to me, is like that's incredible.
Just their attitude, it seems like, you know, we had a person in high school who was like paraplegic and kind of mean about it. And then, like, I fished with Dave Johnson in the bass club, and that dude is the nicest, the best attitude you will ever see, and how he has to get to the lake and how much he has to go through to
just to get in the boat.
Just to get in the boat, let alone put the trolling motor down, get out of the console, rig your rods, grab your tackle, organize your tackle. I mean, I pulled his van out for him, and there's no foot pedals. It's all hand levers.
Right.
And it's like it gives you a good perspective on life, because we really have it.
We take so much for granted.
We do.
And I'm with you on Dave. He's
so nice.
He's such an awesome guy. And another one in that, I don't know what road we're going down here, but another one is Jeff Gustafson.
I don't know him real good.
They both fish together. Jeff is another super dude. He's got his legs fail him, and he uses he's in a wheelchair for most of the time, and can't really he just can't do all the things that we do. Never has a negative thing to say. Just both those guys, I just love seeing them at the Access and talking with them. They're a couple of my favorite people. I mean,
agreed.
If I haven't seen them in a while, to run up and talk to, and hey, how you doing? And
they're always so happy to see you too. It seems like, and maybe that means they don't hate us. But I don't know if I've met Jeff.
Yeah, no, he fishes sometimes with Dave, and then other times he'll. He's got a couple different partners he fishes with, but
sure.
But yeah, just good dudes. But yeah, the guy that won on Truman, that should be a movie should be made there, because that's amazing.
Straight up, man. Even setting the hook.
Right.
I'm just trying to like think that through in my head, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, like you look at like I said before, Clay Dyer. I mean, how much that's the most. Probably that's got to be one of the most inspirational fishermen there is. I mean, for a guy to go out and keep competing because he keeps fishing in MLF and FL or MLF, I guess it is now, but he keeps fishing in that tournament after tournament after tournament, and again, he's just always has a smile on his face. That if you ever saw how he ties his hooks and stuff like that, it's just
wild.
It's nuts. So, but yeah, this all started from Shuda.
Oh yeah, Shuda.
Shuda was, he's always near the top too. He's a hell of a stick.
Shuda's really good at that format. Figgy's really good at that format.
Figgy's phenomenal.
It's Figgity.
He's Figgity. But yeah, it's Shuda's. He'll be chasing them deers just like me now. Once he's back, he has that bug too. So.
Sure. So you own a construction business, right? That's and you've worked hard to build that, and that's kind of allowed you to do a lot of what you do now with that. And I know you're still pretty busy with some of that, but
yeah. So I started a general contracting company like 27 years ago, I think it was, and back then it was, there was quite a few construction companies, general contracting companies around, and they started dropping out, and then you keep kind of working your way up, and I got into doing more of we do more of we're in the medical field portion of it, so like Centracare, St. Cloud Hospital, Centracare. That's where they're one of our biggest clients, and you get into that. You kind of pick which field you want to be in for that, and that's kind of where we've wound up for the last many years, and I've been fortunate to have great people on my team and competent people that I can rely on, and it's worked out pretty well, and yeah, it's allowed me to take time to do this and do the hunting and be with family and stuff like that, and
Sure.
and that's really all you can ask for out of a job and a life, I guess. Well, Lazard just put one in.
Green Bay is now winning pretty good. How's that been with supply chain and like prices and shit? Like, cause it's been a weird time to be alive that way.
It's same as everything. I mean, it's the prices are through the roof. Supply is, I mean, no matter what project I mean, whether it's rooftop units in the HVAC portion of your projects or it really just doesn't matter. You can expect delays on every project, and there's no way any of us general contractors would sign anything that had liquidated damages due to equipment or anything not showing up on time. It's just you'd be bankrupt in no time. It's just you're going to have delays on that. So, but that's it. You can expect that, and that's I don't know. That's kind of the work part of life. And
is it like because there's a lot of subcontracting and then there's a lot of parts and materials needed. Mm-hmm. So has it been both of those things or mostly just materials?
Just materials. We pretty much just general projects. I mean, there's literally only 4 of us anymore. It's everything else is subbed in. We just general every project we do pretty much. And,
Sure.
And some of these projects that are smaller ones, we take care of the whole thing. But otherwise, we general and sub everything in from masonry through plumbing, HVAC, electrical, all of it, just to do whatever the project entails. So.
Sure. Sweet.
But yeah, that's work. Kind of boring.
Pretty boring, yeah. We don't need to keep on that. So like hunting, you do the bow thing. Is that how much gun hunting do you do?
I will hunt whatever season is open to me, and where it just depends on where you're going, what license you can get. I love shooting deer with my bow, and that's my favorite thing to do. But like going to Montana, that's rifle hunting, and I love that too. Still take my dad, and my dad and my 2 brothers are going out with me this year. My dad's come with me for the last 9 years now, and he says, I'm going with you until I can't do it anymore. And I swear to God, some days he kicks my ass up and down the mountain, and I'm like, Dad, you need to take a break? Nope, I'm fine. I'm like, let's take a break because I'm fucking dying. And here's my old man just kicking my tail up and down the mountain.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gun out there, and like Nebraska where I'm going tomorrow, that's bow now. But I've gone out there rifle hunting, muzzle loading. Nebraska, you can get two buck tags over the counter out there, so you don't even have to apply for them. Whereas Montana, you have to apply and get drawn, and
Sure.
And Colorado, a lot of those western states, you actually need preference points to get to, and as well as Iowa, you need a lot of preference points just to bow hunt down there.
Those frequent flyer miles, or
yeah, no, they don't let you be a frequent flyer.
Gotcha. Preference points.
Yeah, so you get a preference point. If you don't get drawn for a tag that year, you get a point. So you get throwing in double the following year.
The opposite of frequent flyer miles.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. But Iowa, which we could have, Iowa doesn't have near the land that Minnesota has, and they've got 10 times the deer we do. It's insane. But they only let you shoot a buck down there. Us as a non-resident, getting a bow tag down there, you're lucky if you get one every 4 years.
Really?
A bow tag. And a gun tag is, forget it. That's 7-8 years. North Dakota, you can basically get a bow tag over the counter. They still say it's not because you have to apply, but you get a bow tag. I go out to North Dakota every year too. But to get a gun tag in North Dakota is 7-8 years.
Really?
Yeah, it's so hard to get it.
I feel like shooting a bow, killing one with a bow in Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota sounds difficult because, like you said, there's not a lot of trees.
It is really difficult, and that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many days so like when I have a picture of me and a deer, there's so many days before that you don't see how many times I failed. Like that a snake went wrong, or when I was actually getting up to draw back, when I snuck a doe that was with that buck busted me and they all took off, or one deer that I didn't see winded me and they all take off. It's just there's so many fails that you don't see. I mean, it looks
They're like tournament trophies that way.
Right,
If you look at your tournament trophy wall, it's like there's a lot of like, oh, we almost did it that day.
Yeah, but you never see those fails. All you see is like in here. Oh God, there's a whole pile of deer in here. But if shit actually went right, there'd be a lot more.
Oh,
there's so many days that just don't go right. Just like in fishing, and those are not the days that you choose to portray. So you don't put them on the wall.
You don't have anything to put on the wall.
Exactly.
Unless
I should look at starting something like that.
Unless you keep the rock bass or whatever.
Yeah.
Mount them. So, like, dude, there's, like, grizzlies and shit over. Do you have any, like, wolf, like, with as much hunting as you do you have any, like stories where you were legitimately a little bit freaked out from something? Or
not terribly. Wyoming, I had a few closer calls with grizzlies, but even then, it's like a couple 100 yards, so it's nothing. I mean, grizzlies, you have to, especially like out in those western states, they'd rather see. I swear to God, the people out there would rather see you die than kill a grizzly. So
are you serious?
Yeah, you have to have if you shoot a grizzly, you better make sure you have all of your facts in line, because if you don't prove that it was actual self-defense, you are going to prison.
Dude, they kill people though.
Correct. So
they will hunt you. Like, there's people who talk about being hunted by grizzlies.
Absolutely. But if you are in their territory then. So if you can't prove that it was imminent self-defense, you are in big trouble. Big trouble.
Those tree-hugging hippies.
And I understand why they do it, because there would be so many people that just say, well, there's a grizzly. I thought he was going to attack me. He was like 500 yards away, so I shot him.
I've heard there's like a grizzly problem now. Like, I don't know shit. Like, let's remember that. But that's what I've heard.
Well, I guess we'll leave it up to our DNR to solve that for us. So
maybe they should. Probably, it sounds like they need to just work on the deer problem first.
Well, yeah.
We don't have grizzlies here, though.
No, but we'll probably have, eventually, I'm thinking we'll probably have like grizzlies in Mille Lacs. I mean, the DNR will probably try something like that. Put grizzlies in Mille Lacs and see if they'll take, or
they're going to probably just keep
expanding. Like in the actual lake that itself, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Kill the rainbow trout in there.
Yeah.
They swim? Grizzlies?
Grizzlies? Oh, yeah.
Dude, they're fast, too. And, like, big. You seen one. So you're like 200 yards away from a grizzly?
Well, I was probably actually closer than that on two of them. But, yeah,
Dude, they're fast. You're, like, in the bush. Like, if they did make their way your way, like, and you did start making your way away, like, they'd catch you and kill you.
The goal is to shoot them before that, but you have to.
That's illegal. I'm just kidding.
You have to prove that you were in imminent danger.
I don't know how you can prove that one way or the other.
Trust me, they'll send out a team, and if your story,
grab the claw and
if your story doesn't add up, you're in trouble.
Gotcha.
But no, so there's not like I said, that's only the few out in that was in Wyoming, but otherwise, like Montana, there's no, I mean, where I hunt in Montana, there's not. I don't know if there is out in. I'm sure there is, like in the western part in Bozeman and in those places there probably is, but I've never. Other than that, it's run into some rattlesnakes in some states and shit like that. Actually, you run into them in South Dakota even, but
That's what I've heard. That I'm not a big snake guy.
I could do without them things. I don't know why they were ever invented, but
I don't hate them. I just don't like them close to me.
no, I hate them.
They're smaller, harder to shoot than a grizzly, probably.
Right? Oh.
Do you ever bang prairie dogs between like deer hunts in some of those places?
Yep. So out in Montana, when like usually like 4 or 5 of us go out there, and when we get a couple of us shoot our deer, because you can only hunt as long as you can't like party hunt out there at all, which is great. I wish you couldn't party hunt anywhere,
Sure.
But you can't party hunt out there. So as soon as a couple of us are done, we'll go shoot prairie dogs for a couple of days, and it's, oh my God, your shoulder hurts so bad by the time you're done with that.
Really?
You just get on a section that has like thousands of them, and it's like playing whack-a-mole, and except that the thing freaking tips over, and instead of going back down the hole after you whack it.
So they're like, there's plenty of them.
Oh my God, yeah.
No shortage of
No
prairie dogs.
No.
That'd be fun.
That it is kind of fun.
You just use your rifle for that, or do you bring an AR for that? I feel like bringing an AR for that would be especially fun.
Yeah, there was the first couple of years we did it. That was way before the ammo shortage. We didn't bring with like 223s or anything, and we found this field that had just, like I said, just 1,000 of them in it, or thousands of them in it, and like, shit, I didn't bring anything with. I mean, I brought a couple bird guns, because you can shoot with your deer license. You can shoot like pheasants and grouse and stuff out in Montana.
Cool.
So we bring those guns with, and never brought a 223 or anything with for that one. And so I had my 300 Ultra Mag, and what else did I have with? I think I had a 7mm with. Like, I shooting your 300 Ultra Mag even like 3 times is enough to break your shoulder.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I'm not gonna. I'll just use my 7mm, and I shot like a box, which is 20, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. It's just you're. This is at prairie dogs, for God's sake, and yeah, it's. But so after that,
So you're ripping them.
yeah. There's nothing left. You just see a freaking puff of fur. But
Sounds like a riot.
After that first year, then we started bringing a couple other guns with for doing that. And it's the ranchers out there love you for doing that, because
Totally.
they
Dig
lose,
up everything.
Yeah, they lose so many cattle from that, because they step in the holes and break their legs. And
Oh, dude, I didn't even think about that.
yeah, they love you for shooting those things.
Oh, I did not even think about what it would be like to have a cow's leg.
Yeah.
If you imagine if you took a cow ice fishing, they'd be fucked.
Ooh. Yeah.
Down the hole.
Yeah. I've never actually thought about taking a cow ice fishing, but
It's the first I ever thought of it.
yeah,
Pretty dumb idea.
I don't think I'd do it.
No. I mean, I'd take some burgers.
Yeah. Not the whole damn cow.
No. So how many national championships have you fished?
3. This is my 3rd, I think. Yeah.
Sweet.
Went to several semis, and but it takes a lot to go. This is kind of different, because we get to go right from our state to
Right.
there.
There's no
that's kinda different.
in-betweens.
Yeah, but most of the time you go to a semi-national before you go to the national championship. So, like TBF and Bass, I've been to several semi-national championships, but I think this is only my 3rd national championship.
Yeah, because you've been to pretty much always at divisionals, it seems like. Which is, what do you call that?
The
Semi-
semi-national, yeah.
Quarter, semi, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But And that too is so much fun. I mean, you meet so many great people from other states, and just dudes that are just like you and love to do the same crap you do, and end up being some of your lifelong buddies. And
Totally.
fishing and hunting are two things that, I mean, if everybody did it, the world would be a lot better place. Put it that way.
Totally. You're pretty quiet about. You're one of the quietest dudes I know about, like, how you fish and what you fish. Rods are always put away. Generally pretty just, yep, about it. We don't need to get into like super details, but like, has there been like how would you describe like your style of fishing and like how you, like, if Ron's fishing how Ron likes to fish, like how's Ron fishing? I know you like to throw a jig. I also love to throw a jig. I think we both are with all terrain.
Yeah.
Throw some of that, but
yeah, it's I get asked that a lot, and I can't even step out of my own shoes and look back and say what is Ron Mehr's style, because I literally fish the moment, and I try to stay as versatile as possible. I don't have, I mean, I'm not the guy that has the one rod in his hand all day. It's like, unless that's the deal, then that's what I'm doing. But I can go, one day I can be throwing a frog in slop and 2 feet of water, and the next day I'll be chasing suspended fish in 50 feet of water. I mean, it's it's everywhere in between. I don't have, like I said, I get asked that all the time, and I don't have a style. It's just I fish how I know I can win in that moment, and that's
totally.
I try not to get stuck in a rut. And Joe my partner Joe Wambeck and I, we try to keep each other honest in that, as far as, okay, should we be doing this or should we be doing this? And we fish really good together. We have for a lot of years.
You guys make a hell of a team. Yeah, probably one of the best teams to fish in the state when you guys are together.
We've won a lot together, and we credit each other on all of it, because there's always Joe's either saying to me, "Hey, what do you think of this?" or I'm saying, "Hey, what do you think of that?" And we don't always agree, obviously, but then all of a sudden you just say the one right thing, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, yeah, that's what we need to do. And if we were just jig fishermen, like we both love to do, or we were just drop shot fishermen or whatever, you miss out on so many opportunities that I don't, like you always say, yeah, you always have your rods put away or whatever. I'm like, well, shit, I retie them and I throw them back in, and that's it. I don't have a style. I just retie everything and fish the moment. I shouldn't say fish what's in front of me. In practice, I kind of fish what's in front of me. But then in the tournament, I kind of come up with a plan and evolve through the day from maybe, if it's on a deeper, clearer lake in the middle of summer, you might start with top water in the morning, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you're fishing a weed line in 20 feet of water in Minnesota.
Right.
And I try not to get locked in on one thing too hard, because it'll kill you.
It will.
But
you don't move super fast, though, I wouldn't say.
Not when I'm on what I want to be on.
Yep.
If I'm not, I'm covering water big time. But if I'm on what I want to be on and what I know is the deal, I'll sit there all day if I have to.
Right.
But if it's something that requires, like smallmouth lakes, I'll move a hell of a lot faster fishing smallmouth than I will largemouth. But
I don't disagree. Is there like a favorite lure you have, or a favorite way to catch them? Like, we all have, like, okay, when they're doing this, and this is my favorite thing to do. Like, for me, it's maybe a football jig or something like that. But
if I can jack him on a football jig, I'll do it all day, every day.
Probably my favorite.
That's one of the greatest bites because they just frickin' Kong it, and that's fun. I mean, whatever, fishing drop shots and stuff like that is, you do it, but it's not like a jig bite. I mean, it's when they hit that sucker, that's fun.
Something about setting a hook when they're a little bit deeper too. It seems just a little bit something to that. But
I'm the older you get, I think the lazier you get too. And I'm not. I fished. I know I fished a lot more moving baits when I was younger. I mean, a lot, covering water. And like I said, the older you get, you start to get a little more set in your ways, and you're like, well, I know this is probably this is probably going to be the sweet spot. So you're not trying to cover as much water, and and at the same time, like I said, you're being a little lazy. And what we used to do with crankbaits, and I mean, even back in the day, spinnerbaits. I mean, hell, we threw spinnerbaits like that was a staple back in the day. And I can't honestly remember. Oh, the national championship in Shreveport, I bet, was the last time I threw a spinnerbait.
there's days where I'll pull it out and it is like this key that unlocks a door, but it's like very few days a year.
Bass did not stop biting a spinnerbait. It's like I said, I personally have just gotten lazier at fishing and don't frickin' throw it like I should. And these younger guys that should be throwing it, and all I see them throwing is a frickin' drop shot, and I'm like, come on, guys, I'd like to actually, and I do mentor a few of the younger kids, and I'd like to actually mentor more and say, here is what you need to do to win your tournaments now, because the evolution of technology has made it so that everybody is fishing one certain way right now, and we used to be able to win more than one way. And if
we used to be able to win that way too, and we don't. That seems to be not as common.
But if you could teach some of these kids to get into that habit, to go look for that pattern instead of the same one that now everybody's looking at,
yep,
they would be a lot more successful. And they've still got, I mean, they're young. They've got the stamina to be throwing. Even if you look at an Alabama rig, they could throw an Alabama rig, Minnesota rig in Minnesota, I guess. Yep. But they could throw that all day long. They wouldn't bother one bit. I throw an Alabama rig all day long, and I'm sore by the end of the day. And I've done it in a few different states. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, these younger guys, they could do it for a week and win a lot more tournaments than anybody else, just because they're keying in on fish that nobody else is keying in on.
I think I've been fishing faster progressively, it seems like,
in the past,
past than I did in the past.
Okay.
Not all the time, but I think with the pressure and everything, I do think like that the reaction bait thing it's a thing and it's overlooked, and I think a lot of people have a spinning pole in their hands nowadays, and there's a time and a place for it for sure, but I just, unless we're fishing beds or something, it hasn't been a big player for me this year. I haven't had a great year, but we had a good year.
You had an awesome year.
Yeah,
awesome year.
I didn't win. We never won. Never won this year, but you're
going to the national championship.
Totally. So. And we were close a few times, so it's like, but a spinning pole is like Tonka, for example, is usually a jig worm, drop shot, pretty dominant thing, right? And it seemed like you go to them deep spots and like it was just not. Same with gall.
Yeah. Yep.
It was almost like you had to think completely differently. If you were not going to throw a moving bait, you almost had to think about the deep fishing differently. It's been weird that way. The pressures You get all these kids, like you were saying before, who are just, you have all the information we have. You have all the technology we have. You have all the can-do attitude we've ever had on these lakes. And I think they're, like, Tonka's fishing like a southern lake, like a Gunnersville now, I think. Like, it's a bite window deal. It's real bad. Figgy was talking about that, how it's just changed so much.
Ugh. I try to stay away from that lake as much as possible. That's kind of what there's Tonka guys, and then there's outstate Minnesota guys, and I am not a Tonka guy. It's just, I'll go there when we have a tour that goes there,
Yep.
but otherwise, these guys spend like 7 days a week on Tonka and know it like the back of their hand.
It's impressive.
And there's like, of the 10,000 lakes in Minnesota, there's like 9,000 plus that I'd rather be on than Tonka.
There's so many good lakes. That's why it's tough. Fig and I were talking about this. It's like, if you want, like, all the pros, national pros, are pretty much Tonka guys who've come from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Or river guys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like, golly, that's quite a choice to make, to beat your head in like that versus actually go catch them somewhere pretty consistently everywhere else.
If Tonka was somewhere besides where Tonka is, I would love to go to it, but I get so sick of the boat traffic and the idiots that are on that lake that have nothing to do with fishing whatsoever.
If there wasn't titties, I'd probably never go there.
Yeah, I'm old enough now that I don't think titties are worth it anymore, so.
No, you got to take pills for those now.
Not that old yet,
I'm
but
just fucking with you.
But all right, I guess I still like titties too.
You made a state team on Tonka, if I remember right.
No, I missed out on Tonka.
You're close, though.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. But no, Tonka's never been my favorite. It's just, I know the Tonka guys don't even like Tonka.
Not anymore.
No, ask Dino about it.
It's the penalty box. He calls it the penalty box now.
Those guys are all
like,
from there, and they hate going there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wow.
Oh, Dino, when we talked to Dino about Tonka, it was like, he's a little weathered on that lake. He's about over it, and I don't blame him.
We all are, and it's not those guys. I mean, they've fished it 10,000 times more than me, and I don't know how they keep going back to it. It's just, if you had a tournament that went from like sunrise to like 11 a.m. out there, it'd be fine.
Totally.
But once you get past that noon and the wreck gets out there, it's, oh my God. And some of the times of some of the tournaments I've been out there were, because I've actually caught them
real good,
pretty good around like Big Island, and all of a sudden you go in. I remember the first time I ever went, there was a little cut in the southwest side of Big Island, kind of the north side of where all the frickin' boats park. There's a little cut in there, and I had some really good fish in there.
By Gale?
Yeah, I'd have to look at it. I just don't know it well
Muskies
enough
fuck that area up now. Move my bass around.
This wasn't
Gotten on
muskies.
some
This
amazing
was
schools.
I came around the corner to go in and catch those fish after, because I ran to another lake to start, and when I came back around, there was like, it seemed like 1,000 boats in my way to even get back there. I'm like, oh, I am screwed. And yeah, I got back there, and there was people actually sitting in where all the fish were that I was going to catch. I'm like, this is dumb. I mean,
Yeah.
You don't go to Coronas and do that, or go to you don't go to Gull and do that, or
No, we don't skip
Whitefish
under
or-
beer bongs for bass. That's one. Dude, and what's crazy about Tonka is, like, there's literally a prop wash / wake pattern that like creates current in the afternoons. Like that's why them channels are good, is them boats will run through and create current. Like the second half of Champions Tour, I'm fully convinced the spot I fished where the fish fired, half the reason why it fired was because 50 boats, or pretty much the whole field, had to run through.
On Gull?
No, on Tonka.
Oh, on Tonka, okay.
Yeah, I had a good second half, but I'm pretty convinced it was like I fished it right as 40 boats were ripping through, pushing water on it, and it's such a voodoo, like it's such a weird bastard. Like you talk about learning those deer, like you were, where you'll sit and you'll see where they bed down, so you know where they're gonna wake up in the morning, and you meet them for breakfast, right? Tonka fish don't work that way, it seems like.
There's another piece to that puzzle.
And I don't know what it is. And I don't know what causes it to change. You talk about like pushing deer off your spot if you fuck it up too early, or things like that. To me, that's like probably that other factor is there's not a fucking deep spot on that lake that's on the map that doesn't get blasted.
Right.
At least 3 times a day. Yep. No.
That's what I'm saying with these. Anybody now can look at a map and say, okay, well, I'm gonna pound docks, or I'm gonna go fish a deep weed line. I'm talking middle of summer.
Yep.
Or I'm gonna fish a deep weed line. So everything in between is like, that's the winning formula right there. And like I said, I've been lazy. I was lazy this year and should have done better at that, and didn't. But there's so much more potential through that area that if you can figure out, I mean, even so much as going before all the weeds grow up in the springtime, going out and finding big rock piles that you can't see when all the weeds are growing up. But if you find them in the springtime, you're set for the entire year after that.
Right.
And that's the crap and I have a lot of those spots on different lakes too, but that's the crap that most people don't have a clue on, and just, it's either I'm pounding docks or I'm fishing a weed line and nothing in between. Well, those people that go in between are usually the guys that are top of the leaderboard.
Prime example, largemouth, Cizik, and Severson. Really good at that in-between point.
Yeah.
Figgy's really good in that in-between. That in-between is tough that way. Really freaking tough that way. It's with that grass, it just gets in the way. But I am curious about this, Ron, because this pissed me off, and I'm not even as close to the lake, but like map chips. You probably remember a day on a lake that rhymes with Lake Nokomis, where the map chip did not show, said certain stuff.
Yeah.
You probably got to enjoy some of those heydays a little bit more.
I wasn't,
touchy subject, maybe.
I really wasn't happy with the progression of map chips, and that was for me personally. I mean, it's been a great thing for everybody, but
we benefited from it too, but not where we already knew stuff.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I mean, shit that it took you a lifetime to learn is all of a sudden, boom, on a map that nobody ever knew before. I mean, I've got spots on, what'd you call it, Lake Nokomis?
Rhymes with that.
Yeah. I've got spots out there that nobody ever fished, like ever. I never had seen another boat in 30 years of fishing it back then,
right.
30 years of fishing it. And all of a sudden a map comes out and you see the contour change and you're like, uh-oh.
You could have just waited and paid $120 for all that.
Yeah, right? That has changed fishing for the good, for the bad, I'm not sure, but it's if you were on the end of working thousands of hours to find stuff like that, it's like, son of a, now everybody's got it at their fingertips. I mean, you could literally, what took me years to find, figure it all out in an hour looking at a map.
Yeah, it feels like you built the store for 10 years and then you're just shoplifting's allowed and just getting it's a weird deal, and I've benefited probably more than I've not benefited just because my age, but on that lake that rhymes with Nokomis for sure, there's a couple spots that map chips, they're just not as good as spots anymore. I'm just going to be straight up about that. I checked one today, and
it's
not real good.
And it used to be that you knew that you didn't have to pre-fish, you didn't want anybody to see you there, and you could run, like, you'd wait till nobody was around, and then all of a sudden pull up on it and just jack 5 big ones quick, and then you get the hell off it. You'd fish it one time a year, and then get the hell off of it.
Would you ever not fish it, like, on a league night just because it wasn't worth it?
I still do it. Still do that. You lose more spots on league night than you do in any other time of the year.
Yeah.
So
it ain't worth $10
or
whatever it is.
It's we have some pretty good guys in our league too. I started Central Lakes Bass Anglers like 10 years ago.
10 years ago, I think. Yeah.
And we
hell
have
of a club.
Yeah, we have some really good sticks in that club, and
good dudes too.
Yeah, very good, very good. It's a lot of. We have a lot of fun, and to be on top in those that's tough.
I know those guys.
And this is local,
right?
But you gotta be watching over your shoulder at all times, because you don't want to all of a sudden be sitting on something you shouldn't, and all of a sudden here comes somebody strolling down the lake, and
I've made that mistake a couple times. You know about one.
I can think of one.
You can think of one.
You ruined one of my spots and that spot is not on the map.
It's kind of on the map.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
That's what we get for having 2 league nights on the same night. We had our league night. Oh yeah.
Piss break?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. I might even have to pee. So you and Joe have been fishing how long? He fishes Central Lakes too?
Yeah. Yep. He helps me with weigh-ins and stuff like that, and me and him fish as partners, and we've been fishing together for probably 15 years or so.
Wow.
And Joe's been fishing. Well, he was part of the Mankato Club like 25 years ago, I suppose now. 30 years ago.
Sure. How'd you two meet then?
Just through fishing.
Sure.
And just through fishing probably 20, 25 years ago, I suppose. And then we started, we fished against each other for the first 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. And then me and him started fishing together, and it's worked out well. We had a lot of success.
But a lot of good times.
Yeah. Just, and we always, me and him are best of friends, and my wife and his wife are best of friends, and we go camping and do all that stuff, and it makes things a lot easier when everything's compatible.
Do you think you both like Miller Lite then?
No, he drinks. He drinks McGolden, and I drink Miller Lite. And it used to be so easier when we dig into a cooler, you could tell whose was whose, because McGolden used to have those shitty dented cans.
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
It could get one of mine and one of his. Well, now they're the same, and there is no way that we can drink each other's beer. I'll quit drinking before I drink a McGolden. It's the shittiest beer I've ever tasted in my life.
That's all I have in my fridge.
Oh,
so glad I didn't
so
bring
freaking
any.
gross.
It's so good.
And Joe can't drink Miller Lite. It's like you can't go from one to the other. It's
I can.
oh god, no, that's horrible. No, it's because Coors and Bud Light are kind of in the middle of them, so you can both of us can kind of go if we don't have the right beer, you can go to maybe a Coors for one or two.
Drink some of those too. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's if you're a Miller Lite drinker or you're a McGolden drinker, you can't
Interesting.
No, we'll quit drinking, but yeah.
I like them both, but Miller has a more distinct taste to it, I think. Some people hate it. I don't hate it, but it's not my first choice, but I'll drink it.
It's kind of always my first choice.
Dean and Shane are the same way.
Yeah. See, couple more tasteful guys.
Yeah, it just comes with age.
Yeah.
Switch to those.
I think that is part of it. What it is too is a lot of us that are like a little older drink Miller Lite. Like the people above us drink Old Milwaukee, and the people above that drink Blatz, and yeah, now it's
Busch Light is pretty
now
big.
Now it's Busch Light, and
and
or like your Sally Keister's drinking a White Claw right now.
You can thank John Figgy for this White Claw because we opened the Pendleton last night, so needed a mix in a water, so to speak.
Yeah, we've got in the beer fridge over there. We've got my shelves and then my wife's shelf, and you took off my wife's shelf. So.
I just appreciate Kathy letting me borrow some watermelon White Claws tonight. They're actually pretty refreshing.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had one even.
Like I can feel my vagina getting less swollen, as I kind of told you earlier. It's good. Thanks, Figgy. Damn it. I'm not a great drinker. It just ruins me the next day.
You try really hard though.
Hey,
I've got so many.
I'm a hard worker for
I've got
sure.
So many snaps from Chapman of you at like 3 a.m. of you still going strong, and I've been proud of you.
Chapman's been a big inspiration of that, and
to a lot of people.
To a lot of people, yep. He's
the one that always hangs in there.
Oh fuck, he's the Tony Robbins of drinking, that's for sure.
Well, there's no give up in that dude. No give up,
dude. He's something else. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't think he's human. I think he's like a creature.
He is something.
I forgot what he was doing this weekend. Told him to come out.
Yeah, he should have come out. So what's next for next year? You gonna do the Bass Series again or Bass Nation? And
I think so. I don't know. Dane and I, kind of like you and Joe, we make a good team.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
So it's tough not to like do some sort of team circuit. I was gonna ask you, and then Champs Tour. I'm kind of addicted to it, so that's probably the two I'll do next year. And it's tough to do a lot more than that. It seems like it just burns you out.
It does.
Burns you out. But how about you? Are you fishing Champs Tour again? Probably.
I'm definitely fishing Champs. If they'll have me, I'm fishing it. It's.
How about the Opens? I think you should fish the Opens.
It's the schedule's supposed to come out this week. It doesn't sound favorable.
You have the talent.
Yeah, but it's you can have all the talent you want, but if you're not coming anywhere near us, it's not really a.
Totally.
Trust me, it's been a dream of mine to do it and to run with it and try to make the elites, and I'm getting to the upper ages of that. Like it's freaking now or never. But if it's all like, if half of these guys are driving like 5 hours to get to the lake and we're driving like 25 hours to get to a lake, you're behind the 8 ball on a lot of things. Expense.
Especially expense right now.
Yeah, and time, and most of these guys have been on all these waters where we haven't, and that's not that that's a big deal.
They chase shad for a living though.
They don't. Yeah, that's so And it sounded like they were probably going to come closer to us this year, and it's now, and it's still rumors. Last year we were going to be on Leech and Tonka and all that, and that never came to fruition. And
sick of this Chesapeake bullshit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. With that, seems like they're always going to just shitty tidal fisheries.
Yeah, so it was. I think they were leading into that again this year, that it was going to be closer to us, and I don't know that that's going to happen. Like I said, we'll see when it comes out this week. I have no inside knowledge on that. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. But I would like to jump into something like that, but at the same point, if it's you got to weigh your odds too. If it's going to be just shit for you, it doesn't really pay. I mean,
what do you think of like the rule changes for a guy like you wanting to make that step or that jump, like with having to fish all 9 versus 3? That's a lot.
It 9. Yeah, it is a lot. I don't really know what to think about that. I know what Bass is trying to do with that and preparing these guys for getting into it, because they have had guys qualify in the past and then all of a sudden not be able to come up with the money or say, no, that's more than I can handle, and drop out. And
right.
So I understand what Bass is doing with that, but at the same time, I'd actually, instead of it being, because it's not about the money to begin with. So instead of Bass doing that, I would actually much rather see like them go down to the grassroots level and say, okay, so now if you win a state championship and go on to the semi-nationals and go on to the national championship, and the top 3 go on to the Bassmasters Classic, why not just say, okay, the winner of each semi-national has the option to jump into the elites?
Totally.
So that you're taking the best talent out of the area that you can, not just the guys that can afford to run around the country. And because when you're throwing money at it, you're not getting the best of the best. But Bass, I think, looks at that as they just need the people that are going to fork it over the dough to get there, which it's totally business, and I understand that 100%. But it would, if we were looking at it as, in all fairness, if they would take like the winners of the semi-nationals and say, or semi-divisionals and say,
yep,
if you win this tournament, you're automatically have a berth to the elites, that would be so much. You would get so much better talent in than you're getting in now.
I don't disagree. Interesting, because will you though get better talent versus like people competing in the 9 opens, because they have to compete on like a lot of different diverse bodies of water versus the semi-nationals. It's one diverse body of water, the rest is your home state. However, I don't see why they can't just add 5 or 6 spots to the elites in general and just not cut it any deeper for rebirth or the classics. And I really don't see an issue with that.
You got a point to that, but that goes back to the point I was bringing up before, is that all of these lakes that the Opens are on are coming out of the same areas every year. Right. It's not really diversity. It's like
true.
True. You look at, if guys want to make it right now, it used to be they'd move to Kentucky Lake. If guys want to make it now, they'll move to Gunnersville or something like that. They're going to move into an area that, okay, if I'm really going to try to do this, I've got to be with, like Gunnersville especially, within 10 hours of all the major lakes that these places fish, and live there and be able to get to them. You don't do it from frickin' central Minnesota.
Right.
So it's not really diverse if you're taking the guys from there.
Yep.
And not saying they're going anywhere else anyway, so it's probably the guys that they need. But if you really wanted to get the best fishermen out of the country,
right,
it should be coming from all across the country.
And, I agree.
And bass should be going to all parts of the country.
I agree.
And I understand the business of bass and that, here's where our bread is buttered and this is what we're doing.
Right.
And that's why they do it that way.
This venue pays us X amount to go
Right.
to, what's a really shitty lake that they always go to? It's like a river.
Coronas.
Horrible lake.
Yes.
No one should ever go there.
You're talking about Orange, Texas?
Yeah, that Sabine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they go there every year and it's never good.
No, but they pay them a shitload of money to go there.
Yeah, and everyone has to go and fish through hell.
Yeah.
It's like, and MLF does have it figured out somewhat with that, because they seem to go to pretty good fishing destinations at the right times.
Right.
And I can't say the same about bass. And I'm more of a 5-fish guy. Even after fishing classic bass and being addicted to the MLF style format, I still prefer a 5-fish format. I was going to ask you, like, after fishing classic bass now, do you have one you like better than the other? I've been asking people that, but
I don't. I've still right now. I'd still say, tell me the rules, and I'll fish it. It's
tournament fishing.
Yeah,
Yep.
Just tournament fishing in general. But I absolutely love classic bass. We're kind of. They could do classic bass in a lot of other states, though, too, and they wouldn't have what we have. We are spoiled rotten by Scott Nancy, by
Seriously.
Newman, by everybody that is in that crew. They're the best, and we are totally spoiled rotten.
We are.
A lot of us don't even deserve what we get there. It's
Pretty amazing.
Some I don't think even understand what we have there.
I agree.
And but no, we literally get spoiled rotten, and I hope that never changes. I'll keep fishing it till the very end. It's like I said, as long as Scott and Paul and everybody will have me, I'll be fishing it because it's fun.
It is fun, and it seemed like so I remember Scott was fishing Silverados back when those were around, and then they kind of went away. So it's been cool to see him bring kind of that level of that caliber, that level of series back to Minnesota, because, like, honestly, we're spoiled with that, but we've been missing something like that.
Yep.
You know, you go down south, there's a lot of that. Or maybe not that format, but bigger trails, bigger stuff like that. And it's been cool to, it's humbling as fuck, but it's been cool to be a part of it and keep fishing them.
Isn't it, though?
Dude. What's crazy to me is, like, how with that format, it's like you can figure it out, and you can almost be, like, the guys who are really good, Noah Schultz, prime example. I don't know if you would see that same. Do you think you'd see the same winning record from him if all of those tournaments were 5-fish? I really don't.
No, I'd say Matt Thompson would win every single tournament. Every fucking one of them. Everyone.
I didn't even think about that. For sure.
We'd all be fishing for second.
But would he? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
but maybe
the average of times, like,
maybe Noah would fish differently too in a 5-fish. I'm not sure, but
MLF every single fish counts versus so it's literally there's no room for error there versus 5-fish. You can get lucky more so. Like, there's
100%.
I feel like a lot. That's what I've come to respect about that format. Is it seems like there is not a ton of there's luck, but it's not. You don't just luck into
It's more bad
three
luck.
big bites,
More
right?
bad luck than good
Exactly.
luck.
Exactly.
If you can limit your bad luck in that tournament, you stand a way better chance than having good luck in a 5-fish tournament.
I'm way more patient in the 5-fish, like, because that to me is like when you say I fish the same, that's where I'm like, you don't fish the same, like, in that sense. You only need 5 bites. You can go try this. You can sit here an extra 30 minutes because you can and think you might get one.
Yeah.
You know?
But you've seen how I fish Classic, and it's really not any different. It's just a matter of
the decision-making process.
Yeah, and probably a couple bait switches here and there that
Downsize.
I'm going to probably throw a bigger jig more in a 5-fish than I am in Classic bass.
Yeah, throw a baby jig in.
Right.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm so intrigued by it after 1 year that I just can't wait to get back at it next year.
I'm dying to know the schedule.
Yeah.
I like new lakes.
Me
new
too.
Lakes do well to me. I do good with new lakes, I think. Better than old lakes.
That's why Joe and I started fishing. Well, Denny Nelson he
runs a great tournament.
He's run probably more tournaments than everybody in the state combined over the years. He's just
Dude, yeah.
But Denny started years ago. Started the Minnesota 30, so he always had the Minnetonka 30.
Yep.
Then he started the Minnesota 30, and that Joe and I love that because we got to go fish all of our favorite lakes around the state.
Yep.
And like your whitefish, your gull, vermilion, all of the bigger ones, and we hated going to Tonka, like I said. So we got to fish all those, but it just seemed like Tonka always drew the numbers, and Outstate was always like...
He never drew a lot of boats.
No, we'd have like 20 to 25 boats all the time. And
they were all good.
And they were all... That's every single one of them. I mean, it was like...
It's like fishing a TOC every event.
Every event, yeah. So, Capra and Severson... Pat Martin was in that all the time.
Putnam and Petron.
Who still I battle with every tournament still
They're
now.
so
Those guys
good.
are, yeah. But all of those guys that were in that one were freaking phenomenal. And
Even Brownie and those guys, old school guys.
Yep. Everybody was capable of winning that tournament. So you had no slouches in there.
Yep.
But at the same time, if you did win in that 20 to 25 boat tournament, you were lucky if you got like $1,500.
I know.
And now we're fishing for a freaking boat.
Yep.
I mean, it's not. And so we went from before in the Silverados, that was the days of fishing for a boat or a truck or what have you. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like Minnesota dropped to shit. I mean, we had nothing left to offer.
We got recessioned, it seemed like.
Big time. And it never, we never had anything to pick up that slack until Bonema picked it up and said, all right, boys, you ready? Hang on. And it's just, I'm so bummed that I didn't get to start fishing this until this year because it is the deal.
Talking to Figgy, he was talking about how he hasn't done as well in 5-fish tournaments since he's started fishing the Champs Tour. I thought that was interesting because I feel like it's made me better so far. But we'll see.
I guess this is my...
TBD.
Yeah, right. This is my first year with that, so it didn't seem to hurt this year, so...
From a dollars and cents standpoint, I guess if you're going to be better at one in Minnesota, from a dollar and cents standpoint, it's probably better to be good at the MLS style nowadays with that.
Yep.
But Do you have any like crazy stories from like you and Joe fishing together that are like, what the heck?
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
you guys have. I mean, sorry. Go through your 15 years of memory bank.
Oh, it's been all of 15.
Yeah.
One crazy one I can think of is when we were fishing on, that was a Denny's tournament, but it was on Chetek in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And there was a bunch of them in that one too. I know you won't believe this, but Pat Schlapper won that tournament.
Pat Schlapper?
Yeah. Yep.
That dude won everything.
That guy was hard to beat out in Wisconsin, put it that way. But anyways,
I've listened.
Got her. Anyways, we were out on Chetek, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and Joe and I decided to run back in a little cut. We're fishing with Joe. This is literally like 15 years ago. Joe had his champion 198, I think it was. So like a
different champion than he's got now.
Oh yeah, he's always been a champion guy.
Oh yeah,
but
good boats.
Yeah, he had like a 198 or 189 or whatever. It was a smaller one with a 150 on the back, and we go running. We're probably doing about 30 miles an hour. Go running in the back cut, and I'm looking this way, and Joe's looking this way because we have to go in, and there's 2 channels to come in, and he missed the channel, and all of a sudden I look for him like, tree. And there is a tree that is like 4 feet in diameter laying across the whole cut, like where we're running to. And it was too late. And all of a sudden we hit that thing with the big motor, and the whole motor broke off the boat, comes flying up in the air. All I see is the prop up above us. And I'm like, oh, we're fucking dead. And I'm eating a sandwich, and so is Joe. And we're both looking back, and something on the motor caught it, like the hydraulics caught it, and it fell back, and then landed on the boat, and then fell off the boat, and sunk to the bottom of the lake. Joe and I, and at the same time, so if you can imagine how fast how abruptly we stopped, a tidal wave came in the back of the boat and fucking soaked us. I mean, like we were drenched from head to toe. And neither one of us said a word for like 15 minutes. We just sat there and ate our sandwich that was soaked with Chetek water.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Joe goes, well, we're fucked. And I looked at him and said, you think? We finished our sandwich, and I looked over the side of the boat. I'm like, oh my god! And the motor was still attached. It was hanging by I don't even know what the hell it was. But anyways,
what'd you do?
Went to idled to shore. There was actually a boat launch that was right around the corner from where we were at. Idled to shore, and Joe went back and got the truck, which was like 8 miles down. Came back, and we winched the boat up on there, and then just pulled out, and the frickin' motor came sliding out on the concrete all the way out, and we it took like 6 of us, and we threw the bastard on the back of the boat and strapped it down, and away we went.
Holy shit.
But Denny let us weigh. We had 2 fish. This is Chetek, so if you had a limit, you were winning.
Yeah. It's not real good.
So Denny let us bring our 2 fish in. This was 15 years ago, before there was any transport laws. He said, yeah, bring your 2 fish in. We took our 2 fish in that we had caught and took 4th in that tournament, I think.
No way.
After that, yeah.
Wow.
But
so like that thing was like coming over your right shoulder?
Yeah.
Like,
it was like in between us. The whole thing came. I mean,
it's about to kill you.
Yeah.
Like,
and then it caught and then fell backwards.
Probably on the cables.
It was a cylinder for, I can't remember what the hell it was. It was like the tilt trim cylinder.
Oh yeah.
Caught, yeah. And that's the only thing that ever held it on to begin with. Held it because it was laying on the bottom of the lake attached to that too, and that was it. Because it broke off from the transom completely. And, yeah.
Holy smokes, dude.
That was freaking scary.
No seat pedestal in the back then.
Nope. Well, yeah, nope. I don't think there was. I don't know.
I wonder.
I don't
Do you
remember.
think it would probably have bounced off that and hit one of you guys if there was a seat pedestal? Like that might have been bad. I don't know, but
I don't either. It happened so fast that it's both of us were just like, holy shit.
Yeah, not many people can say that that's happened, but it's happened. Like they make like chokes for that because people have died, I think, from that.
Yeah, well,
Getting whacked.
we were almost a statistic. But yeah,
Glad
so I
you-
guess that's
glad you
one,
made it.
That's one of the Joe and Ron stories, I guess.
That's one for the books.
Yeah.
That's one for the books.
There's probably a lot more than that actually, but
Well, yeah, if you think of them.
yeah, no, we've had some good ones. Probably a couple that I better not say on a podcast, but
That's at your discretion. Some stories stay in Vegas. That's okay.
we had one. I remember on. This was just on our local lake down here, Rice. We had league.
I think I know this one even.
We had league, and
Yeah, you need to tell this one.
we're fishing out. We're fishing out in the main lake, and the main lake sucks. And I've told Joe, I said, we just need to run to the train bridge, and we'll have 10 pounds in no time. We'll come back out. Well, I hadn't been down the river in like over a month. This was the middle of August, I think it was.
You always ran that fucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took out like 5 freaking lower units in that river.
Yeah, that's the statistic that I remember.
Yeah, but that particular day, I went running down and I hit the old carp trap on the way down, and I'm like, uh-oh, if I'm hitting that, we're getting really shallow. And little did I know it, I ripped my skeg off when I did that. But then we got up there, caught we did catch 10 pounds, we had like 9 pounds. And I'm like, well, let's run back out of here. And there's a hole in there that you can jump in, and if you don't get out of there fast enough, you're screwed. Well, it was shallow enough then that where the hole normally is was even shorter. And I jumped and made it up almost on plane and frickin' wrecked. Big time. Yeah.
Because you had no skeg no more.
I had no skeg, ripped the prop off, and we were screwed. So we had to push the boat from there all the way back out of the river,
All the way back to...
the Rice access. and
That's up current, too.
well, there was really no current.
Right. This is low as fuck.
But yeah, so there's...
That's a haul, dude.
Oh my God. And thank God we had like 2 hours to it. We literally got in that night with like 2 minutes to go before, and we took second in that tournament.
No
But,
way.
Yeah, we took second in that tournament because we literally caught like, we had almost 9 pounds under over there, but the lake sucked that night. That's why we ran there to begin with.
Right.
But I'll never forget Joe going, he was wearing shorts that night, and he's like, well, I don't want to get my shorts wet, so he takes his frickin' shorts off, and here's Joe in his goddamn whitey tighties, and I'm like, oh my God. Okay, at least go on the other side of the boat for me so I don't have to see this. And so for 2 miles of pushing up the, you know what that river's like.
Yeah.
There's Joe in his frickin' whitey tighties. But
That's one for the books. In second place, Team Brokeback Mountain.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. Because so 5 lower units. How many of those lower units are between Mice and Nokomis?
That's 5 just in between there. No, that literally is between those 2. That's 5. I've taken way more off than that. But just between there.
That's fucking insane.
Shaggy and Shaggy was one morning was Sean Haig and Doug were it was really foggy one morning. That was for a Anglers Elite or Anglers Choice tournament, I think that was.
Yeah.
They were sitting in a spot in the river that we all would normally stop on, but I didn't see them because of the fog, and came around the corner and Shaggy's waving me through it. I'm like, I could barely see him, so I just sat down. I knew I was in trouble. I sat down and just frickin' boom, and ripped the frickin'. I didn't rip the whole lower unit off because I actually made it out to Rice Lake before it shelled out. But Shaggy's like, "Oh, that sounded bad." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is." And I put the motor up, and there's the skag's gone. The prop is mangled. But I'm like, well, at this point, this was first thing in the morning. I'm like, at this point, now I might as well just fish the rest of the day. And then, yeah, we made it out to the main lake, and then she shelled out. So
Did you make it to weigh in that day?
yeah, we made it to weigh in. I don't remember what place we got in that one, but must not have been that great. But
No, you're the reason I don't run that. Like, is because I heard about Mehr, the river, and carp traps, and I knew that was like your home stomping grounds. So I'm like, well, shit. If literal homeboy is shelling out lower units, the guy 2 doors down on the horseshoe chain probably shouldn't be running that.
I knew everything in that river just because I had idled
Right.
up and down it so many times, and I still took that many out just because shit happens.
Yep.
And I always told guys, like, when we'd have tournaments out there, I'm like, I'm not telling you this to be like, so I'm trying to gain an advantage from you. I'm literally telling you to try to save your life. Don't run here, don't run there. Set down here, set down there. And
At least you're telling them how to get there, not like...
yeah, I didn't want to see people die for a stupid fishing tournament. But half the time, people would be like, whatever. And then they'd rip their freaking lower unit off. I can't tell you how many people I've seen wreck in that river. There was one tournament.
Not big enough tournament where it seemed worth it to me.
No, it never was. But you know how people used to, and some.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's still, people just get jacked up at the beginning of tournaments. There was a.
I mean, Rice is pretty good, so like
It used to be a lot better.
Yeah, I know.
A lot.
everything did.
There's a team we named Duck Boat because we were running up from the one lake to the other one morning, and I turned the first corner, and they caught my boat wake, and it launched them in the air and turned them like 90 degrees. And they didn't have a hot foot, so the throttle stuck wide open because they've got it pushed down, and they're flying through the air. And they hit, and it launched them. You know the first corner is there.
Yeah.
It launched them like 100 yards up into those cattails. And so we're coming back at like, I was fishing the spot. This was like probably 4 years after Shaggy and Doug were in there where I crashed. It was about 4 years after that. And I'm actually fishing the spot where Doug and Shaggy were. And all of a sudden these two wet jetters come up to me, and they're like, "You got to come help these guys. They're in serious trouble." I'm like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "These guys have been stuck in the cattails since 7 o'clock this morning, and they can't get any help and can't get out or whatever." I'm like, I go down there, and I knew who both of them were pretty well. And the one guy had a panic attack at like 10 o'clock that morning. He couldn't even function anymore. And their boat literally was like 100 yards into those fucking cattails. Like, I don't know how anybody saw them. They had to have hollered at those. This was before like a lot of people had cell phones.
Got it.
So I don't know how they even got anybody to realize they were in there.
Yeah, dude.
So
Flare gun?
Yeah.
That's about all I can think of if you don't have cellulars.
They were known as the Duck Boat after that. That was a bad one.
Well, they were with the ducks, all right. Dude, cattails. I don't know how if it was an aluminum boat.
No, it was a fiberglass boat.
Oh,
They were.
dude, if you're in the cattails, like I don't know how'd they get out.
They had there was 2 pontoons that came and hooked up to them, and just gave it the beans and like
Ripped them out.
yeah, they put the motor all the way up and just hooked it up and pulled. But
Jeez.
yeah, it was 2 pontoons but
Wow. Carb traps the main thing that did it when you took your lowers out?
No, that's the
Rocky bottom.
Yeah, the rocks in there, and one time there's always logs that floated in there that they'd always every year they would move a little bit, so you had to figure out where they were, and if you'd hope to God they'd stay where they were, because there was a few of them in there, and those could take it out, but most of the time it was if you had something unexpected happen, and there's a lot of big rocks in there. That actually glad that no tournaments even allow you to run through there anymore. It saved me a lot of money.
Honestly, to me it's for the best, and both lakes are fishing good enough now where if you're on one of them, you don't really need to run to the other one.
It was just another degree when you could do both of them.
It's another element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was fun because.
How long does it take to get there? You could fish both in a day? Fish your favorite spots on both lakes in a day?
Oh, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
That is a whole nother element then if you can fish your top 2-3 holes in each.
Yep. And there was times of the year where Coronas would win, and there was times of the year where Rice would like there's no way you're gonna beat
Rice.
Beat Rice, so but now it's not that way anymore. But
oh dude. The largies on Coronas are
that was all thanks to us.
Thank you, Ron.
30 years ago, there wasn't a largemouth in Coronas. Not one.
Really?
Yeah, we brought them all down from
Rice
Lake.
No shit.
Mm-hmm. There was zero. There was smallmouth, and that was it. And all of a sudden, we had these tournaments where we could run up there, and there was usually like 3 of us boats that would run up there, and it'd be first, second, and third, and you'd have 20-some pounds, and all of a sudden you keep bringing them fish down, and before you know it, there's getting to be a population, and look at it now. I mean, it's
pretty impressive now.
It's insane.
They school really good.
Oh, geez.
You can get a workout. Well, there's a lot of Metro folk and then people like myself that should probably send you a thank you card for that because...
well, it's not just me. You'd have to send it to Shaggy and Doug. Were one of them that were always up there.
They were.
Gross was up there.
Oh, yeah.
Pat Nasha would come up there.
Yep.
I know I'm missing several, but I can't remember what I ate for supper, let alone 20 years ago bass fishing. But
totally. Has it changed? Like, so you've grown up through a lot of technology. Now I see you live scoping like no other. Has that been interesting for you? Do you think has that helped you a bunch? I mean, you've had a good year with it, but like at first, do you think it handicapped you at first, or do you think it helped you? Yeah.
The biggest thing, and I can go back just with the invention of, if we back up a little bit, the invention of 360, or I'm sorry, of side imaging.
Yeah.
When Joe and I first got side imaging, both of us, we had the worst year of our tournament career.
Really?
But we thought, oh my God, this is it. This is what nobody's going to even come close to us. And that was our worst year we ever had because we spent so much time just looking instead of like actually fishing.
Uh-huh.
And we did terrible. And then we realized when we needed to use that and when we needed to not use that. So that helped with this now that live scope is out. I kind of have realized when and where to use that and when to put it away and do what I gotta do. And that's so side imaging kind of paved the way for us to not have to get burned like that again. But
that makes sense.
But yeah, it's something else. I don't know where fishing is taking us or technology is taking us from here, but
Dude.
holy shit, I don't know how much more of this we can take.
Dude, I don't know where the world's taking us. Like, we're about to be in new dimensions.
You could be right. As long as they got largemouth and smallmouth,
No kidding.
I'll be there.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. That's fucking wild.
That's
It's a weird time to be alive.
Yeah, and I think you're always gonna see that because you look at what you grew up doing and to where it is now, and it's not. You think back to the green box, which I grew up on, the green box, the Lowrance flasher.
Wasn't that long ago, if we really think about it.
No.
That's what's the weirdest thing.
No, I was like probably 10 when that came out, I suppose. 10, 12, somewhere around there. And the thing was, I mean, it was the biggest piece of shit there was, but if you didn't have one, you couldn't fish without it.
Right.
Or if it went down, I should say, you couldn't just go fishing. I mean, you had to know the depth and the bottom the bottom composition. I mean,
Yep.
if you didn't have that, you're like, well, now what am I doing? And
Right.
to where we are now, it's like it is, yeah. So where we're going to be in 20 years is like, what? So if I don't even know that's a 4.75 pound pass, then what am I going to do?
Dude, we're going to be like not casting at everything because it's not big enough.
Right.
It's so weird, dude. Like, Vietnam was not that long ago. We were fighting the Viet Cong with bayonets.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Newman about this, like, no cell phones. Like, how the hell did we survive as a race without cell phones? My generation would be fucked.
Yeah. We didn't have I didn't get a cell phone till I was one of the first people to get a cell phone of all of my people, and I was like 19 years old. I mean, we had bag phones before then, but an actual cell phone, there was two of us that got them when we were 19, and we talked to each other because we're the only ones that had them. But the evolution of it since then is like, so.
You think about meeting a guy at a ramp and he oversleeps, right? You don't even know until he just shows up. And then he shows up and he's at the ramp and you said fuck it an hour ago and you left and went fishing. Like, he's literally waiting. How does he even... You just give up and not even...
Yeah.
Anyway, little tangent there, but... No, we're literally... It's going to be all about making him bite. Like, that's the next...
100%.
Like, which sucks because I really enjoy the finding him part of fishing. That's like one of my favorite parts. But if everyone can just find him all the time, it's like... That'll be a little bit depressing, maybe.
It's the biting thing, like you're saying, though, that's the biggest thing, and that's the that's the part on classic bass that really makes you realize what the feeding windows are, because, like you said, I've done a lot with live scope the last couple of years here, and there is so many times where I'm like, just bite the fucking thing. Like, you're sitting in front of it, and you can throw whatever you want, they're not biting. These are Minnesota fish, not freaking Florida strain. These are Minnesota largemouth bass, and they're not biting. And you realize that nobody is getting bit at that point. Like, everything shuts down.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Right.
And like, you'll have a couple trickle in here and there, but there's those feeding windows are like, there's so much to that
there is,
that you don't see in a normal tournament because you don't have the ability to see what everybody else is doing.
Totally.
So, like, for example, Vermilion last week, I literally saw 99% of the fish I caught. Like watched every one of them bite. And there was certain times where you'd throw and they'd sit there and wouldn't do anything, and it puts you back to like classic, like, I can pretty much guarantee you nobody's catching a goddamn fish right now.
Right.
Because there's just, when that happens, it's just the whole lake kind of like shuts down, and it's odd to see both sides of that like the 5-fish side of it as well as the classic bass side of it, and know that in the 5-fish side of it, if they're not biting, you don't necessarily just have to frickin' run around with your head cut off. It's kind of like, we're still okay to, they're here. We just need to wait them out.
So that bite window thing, like if you watch a guy like Rick Clunn, he's big on like the major and
Minors, yep.
To me, it's weather, and just what else is there? I mean, is that what you watch? Is that what it is to you? Have you seen a correlation?
Yep, it's that. Hunting's no different. I mean, I'll do the same thing for deer hunting. You're gonna see that, especially when you have a strong frontal change. That's when you're gonna have the most deer on their feet, just like you're gonna have the most activity with fish too.
Yep.
That's a huge thing to watch. But yeah, there's your majors and minors, which in Minnesota is not as big as it is down south. Yeah, because our fish don't get the pressure, and yeah, they're freaking stupid.
Yeah.
But down south, you can, I mean, it's textbook. So you watch that, and if you could see during the day when the barometer's gonna frickin' plummet, like, you need to be on your best shit, like then, like right then, and I've seen that a million times. If you're not there, you're gonna probably be losing. Mm-hmm. But so our fish are a little different.
They are, I think, getting more similar year by year, it seems like.
With the pressure?
Yep. Thanks to just all the pressure, all the good old pressure.
Yeah.
Is there like an app you look at for that, or is it just?
No, I'll typically just follow. I mean, you can
stick your finger up, look at the trees, feel the wind.
Yeah, if it's if you can see rain clouds coming,
yep,
it's probably gonna
go down.
It's probably gonna rain. If you can see nothing but bright blue skies for ever and ever, it's probably not going to be your best bet. But.
Right. Wind change, I think, is big. Wind is a big thing.
Yep. Yeah, wind pushing in on stuff is a big thing. I mean, we joke around a lot about that Kevin Van Dam's full of shit. There's 5-footers pushing into a point somewhere and you're trying to fish it and you're not catching anything, and that, we'll joke around about that. Kevin Van Dam's full of shit, but that is literally what most of the time you need to be doing. But
dude, it's a big deal, especially if we have a lot of lakes up here. The wind is the current.
Right, 100%.
You don't have a consistent flow pushing things a certain direction. So
unless you got feeder creeks,
right,
coming in, going out, the wind is all you've got. Because we have lakes, we have a lot of rivers too, I guess, but a lot of what we fish is lakes. So.
That's what I do like about rivers, and that's what simplifies rivers for me, is that constant current flow. But even talking to Noah in one of our earlier podcasts, like on the bottom of Pool 4, he had the wind push some fish in for him in the afternoon in an area I was fishing, and I did not think the wind would play that big of a factor on the river, but it seemed to even on the river play a little bit of a factor for some guys anyway. But
I didn't think there was a stitch of wind on the river when we were there.
It wasn't till the afternoon. Really? There's right as I left that area, it sounds like the wind pushed them in, they turned on. But Packs win.
Yep.
I don't hate Aaron Rodgers as much. I listen to podcasts with him and Joe Rogan.
There you go. Yeah.
Not saying I like him, but
Oh, he's at least kind of on our side. When he retires, he might be a Vikings quarterback.
Brett Favre, that shit. I'm good with that. Hey, I won't complain. He's good in the clutch. He's not vaxxed, just like me. Just kidding. Not that that matters. Not that there's anything wrong with whatever you decide to do.
Your body, your choice.
Your body, your choice. Yep. Fuck yeah, Ron. Thanks for having me. This is fucking awesome. This is a layer of layers.
Thanks for coming.
Dude, you kill a lot of big deer, dude. We'll be back.